Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, students, special guests. Thank you for joining us today. We don't look so happy. I love to see smiles. All right, I'll be your special MC for the event. My name is Ezin Nokuku, and thank you so much. We welcome you to the Lagos Business School Global Network for Advanced Management Week, popularly known as GNAM 2022. And for our special session today, Meet the Africa Leader session, we are proud and honored to have with us the esteemed Mr. Tony Elumelu. Who was recently honored by the President, Our Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, as the Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic. He is a very special and esteemed man, founder and chairman of Harris Holding. A round of applause, please. Thank you once again for joining us. And now we are going to be inviting our very own MBA director, Mr. Chinedum Ewuzie, for the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Tony Elumelu, CFR Chairman, Founder, Harris Holding. Good morning to your team, too. Good morning, our Professor Kisugbeche, our Dean at Lagos Business School, the Management Board of LBS, members of our alumni community, participants at this year's GNAM Week, those online and those of us present here, and of course, my colleagues at LBS. I would like to welcome you to this year's Global Network for Advanced Management, also known as GNAM Week, titled The Future of Entrepreneurship, Unlocking Africa's Business Growth Potential. So the GNAM is a collaboration of 31 leading graduate business schools across the world, such as Yale School of Management, Oxford, ESA, Fudan University, Hong Kong University, and of course, LBS. So these schools come together to advance knowledge in business across the world and also foster intellectual ties among business schools, promote research in the areas of interest to global commerce. But this year at LBS, we have designed the GNAM program to expose our MBA participants to the required strategies needed in entrepreneurship and how to drive innovation. This is important to us as LBS because we are committed to equipping our professionals with the right skills and mindset needed to unlock sustainable business opportunities. We know that as of today, Nigeria has one of the fastest, largest consumer markets. We are experiencing very high population growth. We see the rapid spread of the internet and mobile connectivity, and we can clearly see the positive impact it's had on the economy. We know that the rates of return on investment in countries like Nigeria is much higher than other rates of the world. And because of this, we're also seeing interest in the major tech companies in Nigeria. So we know that recently Google has announced about $1 billion of investment into the Nigerian economy. We know that Amazon is reported to launch in 2023. We know that Facebook is currently researching and trying to understand the Nigerian market and how to enter it. But also, we see the growth of homegrown institutions such as UBA, which is Africa's most resilient banking group with operations in 20 African countries and offices in 3 global financial centers. And for today, it is why we've brought Mr. Tony Elumelu here to share his experience and discuss certain themes. He will be discussing with our dean the viable ways to unlock Africa's business growth potentials. What's the future for business, global business in Africa? What are the challenges that African businesses face? And what are the significant challenges faced by African entrepreneurs? And very importantly, how any upcoming entrepreneur can tap into the potential benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the ACFTA. And for this, we're going to be having a fireside chat between our own dean, Professor Chris Ogbeche, and Mr. Tony Limuru. So at the end of this session, I hope we'll be able to learn from one of the foremost entrepreneurs in Africa, Mr. Tony, and of course, also our dean. I wish you the best. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special event. It's my pleasure to spend an hour discussing the future of entrepreneurs in Africa with one of the leading and best-known entrepreneurs in Africa, Mr. Tony Elumelu, CFR. Before we delve into this subject, I'd like you, Tony, to touch on something that I know is dear to you. You have been campaigning and preaching the gospel of African development, the role of private sector in this. And you came up with this famous terminology of Africapitalism. I'd like you to enlighten the audience on what this concept is and why you think Africapitalism is the key to the development of Africa.
So, good morning again, everyone. And thanks to the Pan-Atlantic University, we call it LBS, so you pardon me, and then Professor Ogbeche for this opportunity to share my thoughts with you all this morning. I like our young ones. I think, and I've said this several times, that the future of our continent is in your hands. So when my big brother extended this invitation, I'm actually going to be going from here to the airport to travel. But I said, one, because it's coming from an institution all of us are extremely proud of, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa, the LBS. And two, as one small support in advancing learning, knowledge sharing, which I strongly believe we need a lot of on our continent, especially for our young ones who will take over from us. And thirdly, the fact that this invitation has come from a man that I respect a lot, and those who work with me know the amount of respect I have for Professor Ogbeche, because he has been there and he's here. So he connects the two worlds very well. So Africapitalism, let me first go back to what gave rise to this philosophy. I was born and bred in Nigeria, in Africa, primary school, secondary school, university, and worked all my life also here and do business in Africa. I've seen the talent in us. I've seen how far we can go as a continent. I've seen the energy in our young ones. But guys, what is talent without opportunity? What is ambition without platform? You can be talented, you can be driven, but there's a limit to what you can do on your own. And it's not often, always, that you do things yourself. So you need support. I speak as someone who has been there before. You need capital. Begged capital, borrowed capital, scrounged capital, or end capital. I saw a need here. And I asked myself, given my own trajectory and experience, what can we all do, or individually, to make life better for those to whom we truly say the future of our continent belongs to? But beyond capital, you need the right environment. And that is why, in what I do, especially through the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we try to train, but beyond training, we also know you need to be mentored. Beyond mentoring, we also know that you need to be connected. We live in a world where connections, meeting people, knowing people is so critical. I also know that you need luck. I'm a product of luck. And that is why we sought to institutionalize luck in what we do at Tony Elumelu Foundation. So it is the encapsulation of all of this: capital, development, enabling environment, and being at the right place at the right time that gave rise to the philosophy of Africapitalism. That in the 21st century, who but us will develop our continent? For a long time, we've had this entitlement mentality. People colonize us, they must also help to develop us. But guys, this is 21st century. Other colonized nations, Singapore has moved beyond, it's like first world today. And let's watch India. I was reading economy just, India is projected in 20 years, India might be the biggest economy in the world. But how did India get there? How did Singapore get there? From within. From within. So Africapitalism is a call on all of us, me, everyone, the private sector. A call on all of us to play our own part in developing our continent in a manner that is truly sustainable. But realizing that the development of our continent depends on us, the private sector, government. Government must create the right environment. The private sector must take advantage of opportunities, the right environment that's created by government. We must also advocate and push government to do the right thing. And friends of Africa who want to help Africa to develop, who in the past are giving billions by way of donor funds to Africa, but yet we remain where we have always been. To say, guys, let's come together, private sector, government, public sector, friends of Africa, development partners, etc., and invest, embrace entrepreneurship, embrace investment, and not charity, not donations, not donor funding. Embrace entrepreneurship and investment as the catalytic way to move Africa out of poverty in a manner that is truly sustainable, to help Africa create jobs that our people need, to help create abundance of prosperity alone. So it's, in simple terms, they call private sector, development partners, public sector, all to invest, embrace entrepreneurship and investment as a true way of developing Africa in the 21st century, realizing that no one but us will do it, and that each and everyone has a role to play in the development of Africa. That is Africapitalism. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Many business leaders, or most business leaders in America, in Europe, even in Asia, believe that Africa is the future for global business. I hope we Africans also believe in it. How can we actually achieve significant growth, economic growth in Africa? If they believe in it, And we want to make them realize it. How can we achieve this significant growth in Africa?
I think the way to, similar to what I said not long ago, the way to the development of our continent and the way everyone has always said Africa is the next last frontier, the last frontiers. But it hasn't come true yet. The reason it's not come true is because of the problems we have on our continent. And I think the biggest problem we have on our continent is that we do not prioritize our young ones. We do not think about the future of our young ones. You know, soon I'm going to become 60, but there was a time I was 20, I was 30, 40, 50. And you see how time, so today's young one will become tomorrow's future. So if we train our young ones, if we create opportunities for them, if we create the enabling environment that will enable those who are energetic, ambitious, most of them are from experience, I interact with young ones in Africa through the Tony Mill Foundation almost on a daily basis. They will go far. I think as leaders in our continent, we kind of think we'll be there forever. But that is not what biology teaches us. We can't always be there forever. So thinking about the future is always very important. To develop our continent, we need to prioritize our young ones. We need to also create the right environment. So when I say create the right environment, it encapsulates, it covers so many things. First is access to power, electricity is so poor in Nigeria and Africa. Almost 60% of our people, 1.2 billion people, don't have access to electricity. Even those who have access to electricity at a cost, huge social and health cost. In Nigeria, when I was growing up, cancer was alien to us in this country. Today, you see a lot of people who suffer from cancer in Nigeria. The generators, we all run a power generating plant in every home in Nigeria. It's a problem for us. So I would say prioritize our young one, improve the operating environment, starting from electricity, transportation, mass transportation. I was at a function last night, and the state governor was talking about how he has stopped the trucking of cement along the state roads. And I just shook my head. I said, this is the problem, the dilemma of private sector. In some parts of the world, they will have other mass, reliable, durable transportation system that can help the producer of cement truck his or her cement to where it's needed. So making that decision, stopping it, addresses part of the problem, but not holistically. And that creates problem for businesses also. So create the right transportation system, improve access to electricity, invest in our young ones, make sure security, in fact, growing up again, security was like a constant. Today, security has become one of business enablers in Nigeria and most other African countries. These are factors that we need to deal with if we truly, genuinely want to see Africa develop. Now, link this again back to Africapitalism I talked about before. We can't hold only government accountable for this. The private sector will also have a role to play. You know, they say that evil prevails when good people keep quiet. So we need to keep engaging. Not long ago, my colleagues were rattled because we thought the oil theft in Nigeria was totally unacceptable. And I tweeted on that. And I'm happy that people listened. Even though it's not totally abated, but at least it has elevated the level of national consciousness and discussion about this plundering of our commonwealth. In fact, I was saying to someone yesterday, these thieves should be executed because they are plundering our commonwealth. They are destroying ecosystems. They are making life difficult for people and sending people to early graves. Those are things that armed robbers do, and before you send them to firing squad, these guys are doing more. So we need to also fix security, but everyone, the young ones, MBAs, the senior ones, we need to be more vocal. We need to be more vocal. We need to hold our leaders accountable. Those are, in business, you have the hard success factors and you have the intangibles. At times, they are strategically so significant yet intangible that you don't see them, but they make a difference in success. Keeping quiet is one of the reasons there's underdevelopment in Africa. We must speak up. We must hold leaders, private sector leaders, public sector leaders accountable. If you look at societies that hold leaders accountable, they go far. Look at what happened in UK yesterday. 48 days. 48 days. A change. Because people refuse to keep quiet. So, Africapitalism is a holistic approach to development. It's a call to the table that everyone has a role to play in making a difference in our life. We can't do things the same way and expect a different outcome. We must work in a way that we know will help lead to the ultimate destination. Yes, we want to see Africa develop, but I think we need to keep working hard on it and show more seriousness.
From your experience in doing business in different parts of Africa, and for the benefit of the young ones here, what are the most significant challenges that entrepreneurs face in Africa? And on the other hand, what are the opportunities that exist today in Africa that these young ones can take advantage of?
So let me answer that question by sharing my own experience. My experience in taking UBA beyond Nigeria to the 20 African countries we operate in today and to the global center. So I've done business in Nigeria, Africa, and doing business outside of Africa. We have operation in America, we operate in Dubai, in Paris, and in the UK, OECD countries. In Africa, we've done business, and I'll share that experience. So in 2005, we orchestrated a combination of Standard Trust Bank and United Bank of Africa and created today's UBA. And we created what we call a three-tier strategic intent. Strategic intent one was to be a leading financial services group in Nigeria. Strategic intent two was to be a leading Pan-African financial services group. And in third, strategic intent was to have global footprint, presence in global financial centers. So that's what drove the expansion to all these global centers I talked about. But we realized that to orchestrate, to make that African dream come true, operating in African country, we needed to do certain things. So first was to get the authorization, that's licensing. Getting licensing in most African countries, initially I recall when we went to go to Ghana. We were the first Nigerian bank to go to Ghana. There was this suspicion between Ghana and Nigeria. Nigerians are 409 people, they are not reliable, this and that. But we broke that. And so what we did, and that's a lesson, that's why I said I want to share my own story, and in sharing the story, share with you what you can do, how we overcame some of these challenges. We had to go to the president of Ghana. John Kufuor was the president of Ghana then. So I went to the president of Ghana, and I explained to him, I told him about our group, our intent, what we want to do, etc. He bought into it. We went to the finance minister, who explained the same thing. I bought into it. Can't remember the one we found. Then we went to the central bank governor. So we started from president, finance minister, central bank governor. And the central bank governor he had just come from IMF or the World Bank. So he said issue of Nigerian banks, money laundering, KYC, this and that. So we assured him that didn't know this and that. This is how we operate, our standards and everything. And he was gracious, kind enough to agree. And then we filed for application through our consultant. So we did not file for application first. We had to engage stakeholders, critical stakeholders. So in business, I guess the prof has taught you with this. Stakeholder mapping is extremely critical for success, and stakeholder engagement also. So you map, you engage. So we saw them applied and finally got license. Before then, a Nigerian bank, I think Guaranteed Trust had been issued a license. They had written in Nigeria they were going to Ghana, they got license. That's what we read then. And then later they said the license, so they didn't go again, they didn't start. So it was again this background that we, Standard Trust Bank then, and merging with UBA, wanted to go to Ghana. So we needed to deal with these obstacles. And then in summary, we got the approval. And you asked the challenges and the solution. So part of the solution also, when we got the approval, I recall telling the CEO, I said, I want you to go to Ghana as Nigerian ambassador. You know, the circumstances surrounding the issuance of this license, they have doubts about us. So please go to Ghana and let's do what we know how to do. Let's democratize access to banking and financial services. We will not put you under profit pressures. Just go. And on record, UBA Ghana operated for 5-6 years. They didn't make profit. For some purpose, because we decided all the promises we made to regulators, good governance, good governance that were going to help to deepen the penetration of financial services in Ghana. I'm happy we did that. The fact that they gave other Nigerian banks licenses, Zenith, Guaranteed Trust Bank, etc., subsequently, is an attestation to the fact that we fulfilled the commitment we made. So, in business, at times, in success, especially on the economy, because there's the prejudice, the kind of negative information and mindset around is too much. So, at times, as you're trying to expand or do business in other markets, have a medium to long-term perspective. And that is what we do in our group. We think long-term. We're not short-term in business to a life as entrepreneurs. Short-term doesn't really help. You can make short-term successes to encourage you, make you know that you're on the right track, but the long range, the marathon, is what helps you to succeed. Anyway, so that we experienced. Another experience I had was going to a country like some countries that the immigration policies so stringent. But and also that's why we need to speak up. Countries like Kenya, I think we made Kenya, UBA, agreed to issue visa on arrival for Nigerians. Because we explained again, we engaged the regulator, the government. So why do we have to go to we're all Africans? So it's okay. When you arrive, we can issue this. So we face, but I think one of the most significant challenges is human capital. You know, we take a lot of things for granted in Nigeria in particular. You know, in some countries, it can be a bit tough. And that's why we set up UBA Academy. We set up UBA Academy. We recruit people from some of this country. We bring them to the center. We train them. We take them back. So it's like our own Pan-Atlantic University to develop our people also. So I would say that expanding, doing business in Africa, the challenges we face is stereotype, the mindset, the negative information that we have about ourselves. Information about Nigerians, or Nigerians will also have information about people from other countries. And so you have to break that barrier first. And the next one is also policymakers, getting them to understand who you are, your intent, what you want to do, and how you're going to help their country to develop, you pay tax, you help create employment. You need to sell this to policymakers, because at times we take things for granted. We assume that policymakers know what businesses are there to do. But you need to help them, break it down. And then the issue of human capital, at times it can be difficult finding If I was discussing with somebody yesterday in one country in West Africa, and I was telling them about the UBA brand representation, manifestation, etc. And this, our executive was just yesterday telling me, Chairman, but in this country, a certain country, that it's difficult to find graphic artists. I said, how can you tell me you can't find graphic? He said, it's difficult. I said, okay, hire someone, bring the person here. Hire someone, bring them to Nigeria, train them. How can you not have a graphic artist? Some is maybe possible, some it may be true. Some it's also in the mindset, okay? But human capital is important. How you want to expand, how do you build the human capacity in those countries to expand? And also, I like to do, in UBA, I said, let's be like the Africa's local bank operating in a country. It's good, some cultural nuances and sentiments, very, very important. It's good, let people see you that you're like a local bank or a local institution where you do business in. And don't go in as, just try to localize how you do things. It helps also in business. I think those are, but the major thing is human relations. For young entrepreneurs, technology has helped social media. You have friends, etc. Make friends in countries, touch base with people. Ultimately, people do business with their friends and want to support those they know and those they trust. So that human touch is also critical for success.
So many companies operating in Nigeria know that the Nigerian market is big, but they always think of diversifying their risk, and so would like to move into other African countries, even though those markets are small. How can the Nigerian government help Nigerian companies that are interested in moving to other African countries?
For me, again, from experience, first thing is tax treaties. Tax treaty, we have, it's funny because intra-Africa, we don't have viable tax treaties. In fact, Nigeria, we don't have tax treaties with so many countries. And your businesses, entrepreneurs will suffer double taxation. So if you have tax treaties, you see like UK has tax treaty with Nigeria, with almost all African countries. Netherlands, the same thing. That's why at times some people, tax heaven, just go to a different country to do certain business. So our government, our policymakers should take their job seriously. If you're an ambassador to a country, it's not just to go and share budget, spend budget. You're ambassador to a country, you sell the country and make sure that all soft infrastructure, like what I just spoke about now, that your country requires to put in place to enhance its national competitiveness should be done. We get appointed, everyone will be Congress, great Congress. And we lose the essence of that appointment. We need to develop different KPI for our public service. So, double taxation treaty is, again, sounds simple and is doable. A government can say in 2 years, all countries in Africa must have double taxation treaty with those countries, meaning your country is a loss of our national wealth. Because if I pay tax in Ghana, for instance, you come by, you pay tax also in Nigeria, Nigeria should get certain incentives so that because you have that treaty, you get, because they also allow their own companies when they come to Nigeria to. So I think, and the net loser is Nigeria because we're big business, we have big business in Nigeria. If Nigeria were to sign this, but other countries are doing so. A country, little country like Rwanda is aggressive. Some Francophone countries are becoming aggressive in that area. So it's one of the things our government should do. Another thing, is if you look at U.S. presidents, when they go on tours, international tours, they have a good number of critical private sector people with them. Governments play a role at times in helping to open doors for their businesses. When Donald Trump went to Saudi Arabia, he went with a team, private sector team, and on record, one of the teams raised $100 billion, $20 billion from investors in Saudi. They were excited the President of America was there, and they also decided to invest in some of those private equity firms. We should do so also. Our leaders should understand when a president, this is not just for one country, African presidents should understand that what is good for private sector is good for government. And that private sector succeeds, government don't create jobs. You need private sector to help you create jobs. And so if you incentivize and promote private sector, they create jobs, they pay taxes, and if they make money, some of them, depending on how patriotic they are, can also decide to help people. You know, if you don't succeed, you can't help people. What we do at the 28 Melu Foundation today, trying to help young Nigerians or other Africans, is because there's a bit of success in our business. If we didn't have it, we would do. So those are the intangibles or benefits that come from supporting private sector to succeed. So there's a lot our governments can do, but first they must realize that the success of private sector helps even countries to succeed, help to create jobs, help to create jobs. For me, job creation is one of the most critical responsibilities of government. Look at the insecurity we have across Africa today. It's because our young ones drop out of school. Our young ones don't have economic hope. They don't see opportunities. So if we address that, we'll create a better society for us. So yes, there's a lot that can be done to support the private sector.
One last question before we take questions from the audience. How can upcoming entrepreneurs tap into the potential benefits of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement?
I think intra-Africa trade has been very, very poor, about 10, 15%, 10, 11%. But I've often said that there are reasons we don't trade intra-Africa amongst ourselves. Why would I, as Ghana, for instance, import finished petroleum products from Europe if Nigeria could sell finished petroleum products to Ghana? The reason I would do so is because it's not available. So our leaders, and I will commend them, realize that trading amongst ourselves is poor and that demand and supply, what people need, you're not able to supply them. So they said, let's come together to create the biggest geographical free trade or in the world. And that's what we have in Africa. Let's eliminate all those rigidities and obstacles to trade. They're on course, and I hope it succeeds. And then some financial institutions, Afrexim, UBA, and others, coming together to create a big Pan-African payment infrastructure that will support the trade also that will come up. But we still need to address supply issue. So the opportunity for entrepreneurs is the market you have before you is not just one country. It's Pan-African. So it means if you can produce, you'll be able to sell across Africa. And financial institutions that are involved are also helping to simplify payment system. But there's a big challenge, the challenge of infrastructure. If a cement producer cannot truck cement intra-Nigeria, how can a cement producer truck cement inter-Africa, intra-Africa, inter-Nigeria and outside of Nigeria? So we need to fix that. But by and large, I see more opportunities than problems, and even the problems, private sector has the power to fix, provide solution. Because over time, and soon, you see private sector, okay, how do we come together, put resources, create roads, railways that can link Nigeria and Ethiopia, Nigeria and South Africa, if they see the opportunities there. And development partners will come in to support. So for entrepreneurs, you have a bigger market. To me, that is the biggest advantage to you in this. A bigger market that if you do, you can be more Pan-African in your expansion aspirations. And by the way, I know some of you will say, I've not finished in Nigeria. Where am I going outside of Nigeria? But there are reasons you may wish to do so. Like Prof spoke about risk, that was fine. When we decided at UBA to go outside of Nigeria, 100% of our profit was made in Nigeria. And that means, if anything, because in business, you must always dimension risks, possibilities, things that can happen. So it means, if anything were to happen in Nigeria, we'll just stop. But today, over 50% of our profit comes from outside Nigeria today, based on that. So to you guys, just have that idea that there's need to diversify ultimately. 2, you grow expertise and skill so much in one market that you want to leverage across markets and that expertise and skill that we've created. In banking, we have created the engine, still evolving and still improving in some areas. I'm fair that going beyond Nigeria provides us more opportunities to go outside, to leverage the skill that we have created. So for you also, you must think big. Dream big, think long term. Whatever little thing you're doing, when I love to read case studies of great American and European businesses. And I love the history, corporate history, how they all started. I tell some of my colleagues, I'm sure all of you, most of you here have read the Benetton, the sweater, this people. You read how they started. Like what my grandmother used to do in the village. But see where they are today. So you can start that little idea, plant it in your head, and keep thinking how to grow it. And just say to yourself, I'm going to, even Four Seasons, recently I was reading this history of Four Seasons Hotel, how they all started, and see where they are today in the world. So that little idea you have in your brain can become a bigger UBA tomorrow. So that question is relevant to all of us in this room. How do we, as entrepreneurs, take advantage of AFCTA? There's huge market opportunities there. Try to see what you can do.
Thank you very much, Tony. I'd like to open the floor for the end so they can ask questions. I'm sure some of them are itching to ask their questions. We're going to take questions in batches of 3. Microphone. So, number 1.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to say that you're such an inspiration to a lot of young entrepreneurs. And then we follow you on Twitter and LinkedIn. We know a lot of the things you do. So I'll just wait till he stops talking.
Sorry, please. Sorry. We're having we're doing our own conversation here. Sorry.
So I said thank you for the inspiration, for choosing to empower young people. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm very concerned about the state of Nigeria and how the chances that entrepreneurs will have in Nigeria. We know that the SME sector contributes to like 45% of the GDP in Nigeria, which means that the SME create a lot of employment. And through research, we also know that in Nigeria and African countries, there's like, I would say, maybe most small-scale enterprises only leave up to 2-3 years. After like the 3rd year, they die. Globally, it's like 5 years. So it's a big concern for me. And I think a part of that problem, as you have mentioned, is infrastructure and the fact that the government does not give that incentive and there's no space for growth. However, I'm not even talking about government because we know that a lot of things are done by the entrepreneurs. You need solar power, you create it. You need the road to work, you make it work. Everything is done by you. You don't really have anybody to help you. So for an entrepreneur like me and other people who have the plan to really go big, like you, go into other countries, you know you have the talent. You have the ideas, you have game-changing plans, but as you said, talent without opportunity is 0. And you see people doing the jobs that you can do, and they're doing it in such a shoddy way, you know that if you're given that opportunity, you would do so well. So you miss out on probably the connection is missing, the opportunity is missing, and you have to raise capital by yourself. You have to look for investors by yourself. So with all these myriad problems, my question would be for you, what would you advise somebody like me and somebody like those budding entrepreneurs who have, so much they want to give, but there's so little, that opportunity that they can give?
No, I feel your pains. When you were speaking, I was laughing. I was like, I hope nobody's going to say, give us microphone. You're taking so much time. No, because I can relate to it. It's unfortunate. But what I say that entrepreneurship journey is not a quick fix. It's a long journey. And you have ups and downs. It's not a straight line. However, if you're resilient, if you're long-term in orientation, if you're dogged, you will succeed. If people like us succeeded, this is a regular guy, and not son of one big, family, etc. And in my own time, it was not worse than it is today. So we've always, it's almost the same. But what we are praying for is that it should not continue like this forever, because it's not good. I will share with you our core values at SOD's group. We call it the 3 E's. It applies to everyone. So I'm happy to share it freely with everyone. The 3 E's, first E is execution, second E is excellence, And third is enterprise. Now, ideas you have to execute those ideas for them to work. And like you said, use it. You said, world-changing idea. My man, I said, that is my lady. The ideas you have, if you don't execute them, they're just dreams. So execution is critical. It's an advice for you as an entrepreneur. You have to execute in an excellent fashion. So at times when people tell me it's all about getting things done, I say, yes, execution is about getting things done, but getting things done properly and at the right time and at the right cost. So you need to embrace excellence. And you need to have entrepreneurial mindset, which is that passion I saw in you as you spoke now. You want to change the world, but you're being held back. But because you're an entrepreneur, you will refuse to be held down. Because entrepreneurs persevere. Entrepreneurs are resilient. Entrepreneurs are optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. Entrepreneurs are energetic. And entrepreneurs are foresighted. They think long term. They visualize it. They execute that dream to make it happen. They work hard to make it come true. They fall, they stand. They fall, they stand. Because they know it's a marathon. And until they get to the destination, nothing will stop them. For all of us you see today, we've had our own moments of doubt. We've had our own dark moments where it's like, am I on the right track? Will I ever succeed here? And then at the end, if you persevere, if you work hard, and of course, if you're lucky, if luck shines on you, that's all of us must democratize luck and nationalize it. So I wish you well. I know what you go through. You can't say you won't do what you want to do because of the infrastructural challenges we have. Our case will remain in spite of. So I wish you well.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Tony Lumelu, CFR, and good morning, Professor. First, I would like to say a very big thank you for the opportunity you are giving the African entrepreneurs. I am a product of the Tony Lumelu Foundation.
You're what?
I'm an alumni of the Tony Lumelu Foundation, and same as my wife, too.
See what?
My wife also.
I can't hear you, microphone.
My wife is also an alumni of the
husband and wife.
Yeah.
That's unfair. Congrats.
Right.
Congrats.
Yeah, so,
what business?
Nexus Entrepreneurship Hub. So my wife is into fashion. I'm in the business of helping entrepreneurs to fulfill their fundraising goals. Yeah. So I just want to ask that you see, you've worked a lot, especially over the last 10 years when you started the Tony Lumelu Foundation. And I could also feel, just like you, the pain of my sister seated there as she was speaking about, you see, the need for the adequate resources to work. But I also noticed that you are a very influential man, that looking at your influences across the board, I could tell that, no, you are the man. So, all right. No, I'm not flattering, please. I'm very realistic. And seated here are two worlds that are, in Nigeria here, kind of contrasting. We have the education and entrepreneurship. So, but we are trying to find a way to marry the two. And I think that key is in your end. You have modeled and executed a blueprint that is workable, that is realistic, not for Nigeria alone, but across Africa. And that is Africapitalism and the Tony Elumelu Foundation through the training, mentorship, funding model. Is there a way whereby you can exert your influence on the education sector? And like you said in your word, we must push the government. Is there a way you can use your influence to push the government to adopt this into the syllabus of the Nigerian education system so that you can have a better education that is practical, that can work for us all? I'm a product of an education system that has failed me, but I found that succor in entrepreneurship in 2018 from the Tony Elumelu Foundation. So is there a way you can help, using your own influence now, to push our government to adopt this? That is one. The second question, I'll be very brief. And for personal reasons, I just want to know, you've been through the thick and thin. You've seen it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. I really want to know, sir, is it possible to practice entrepreneurship ethically in Nigeria?
Very, very good point. So let's start with the first point. You know, I think it's beyond education, it's beyond what we incorporate into our syllabus. We need all of us, and that's, again, the issue of accountability, holding our leaders accountable. We need to keep, we need a positive mindset in our leaders. We need a positive mindset in our leaders. That is very critical in fixing issues. You know, the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, we have, to us, it's not just about incorporating in the curriculum. It's about what you all need. You've been trained to realize that. What you need support, you need platform, you need access to capital, you need the right operating environment so you can do well. We have seen some countries are embracing what we do at the foundation. Benin Republic, our neighbor in Nigeria here. Neighbor to Nigeria. I think last year alone, I think the country supported, over about 500 citizens of their country, in addition to what the foundation did, what we did, our own commitment of $100 million to support African entrepreneurs. Every year we give grant $5,000 non-refundable to 1,000, of which you and your wife are beneficiaries, to entrepreneurs. The country, in addition to our own support, supported their own people, 500. And we can do a lot if the attitude is there to embrace it. But as you also said about influence, we continue to preach, to engage people, not just in Nigeria, not just on the continent, but across the world. When I go engage with global leaders, my message is simple. My message is about poverty eradication, Africa. My message is about job creation, and my message is about women inclusiveness. Let's include women in what's happening. Let's create jobs, and also let us make sure that we eradicate poverty. And in the 21st century, I say to our friends of Africa, there are better ways of giving that creates dignity and creates self-independence and self-reliance rather than perpetual syndrome of dependency. So that influence, we try to spread it. Now, to the second question you raised, yes, it is possible. I told you about UBA Ghana when we went to Ghana. For 6 years, 5-6 years, I told the CEO, I said, please focus on building to last. focus on building to last. Let's not cut corners. Who made me say, just make sure you do things the right way. And it took 6 years. But when they started making profit, they were making about $5-6 million a month profit. But it took time to get there. So, and that is, again, what we preach in Africapitalism about long-term orientation. In everything, what leads to a quick fix most times is short-term orientation. But if you think long-term to a large extent, and in business, strategy professors will tell us about trade-offs. You have trade-offs. You'll be deliberate about certain trade-offs because of other things you want to get. And in the long run, if your orientation is to build to last, then you take steps to put the right foundation that will enable you build to last. If you build a house and the foundation, you have a house, they say 3 weeks for the foundation to cure, the decking, maybe 28 days for the decking to cure, and you cut corners, instead of 3 weeks, you do 1 week or 2, the decking maybe 1 week or 2, because of short-term orientation to finish quickly. Then you finish, one day the house will collapse, and it will keep people, unfortunately. But if you painstakingly take time, you do it. So it's possible, and it should be so.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for such excellent presentation on Africapitalism. I really appreciate the fact that you highlighted some things that may not be known to us as entrepreneurs. So I'd like to talk about the tech ecosystem. So the founder of Employ. Employ is the most affordable and accessible job application.
No, sorry. I think we should change the microphone because people, since it's being streamed, like people will not understand what you're saying because this mic is not very, very good. Can we change? Yes, you can. Prof wants you to enjoy his own also. Why are you scared? Prof wants you to enjoy his own. Come and collect it.
Okay, I said I want to ask about the tech ecosystem. I say my name is Shino. I'm the founder of Employ. Employ is...
Founder of...
Employ. Employ is the most affordable and accessible job platform that connects, that recruits, that help entrepreneurs and startups recruit African talents in the most affordable and unique way. And I've done a lot of pitch sessions.
So if I want to hire people in Cote d'Ivoire, you help?
Yes, sir.
You're sure?
Sir?
You're sure?
Yes, sir.
Can I try you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We need a graphic designer in Sierra Leone. So my people, graphic designer for EBS Sierra Leone, get one for us.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yeah, so my question is, I did a pitch session to an angel investor in a program. And after speaking to the investor, she was like, I was trying to ask her whether she understood my pitch, but she didn't give a detailed feedback. She just said, okay. So I feel, from my experience, a lot of investors don't really understand the tech space, and they are skeptical about investing in them. So I'm asking that, is there something that can be done in terms of investor education in tech space? Yesterday, Nigeria released the Nigerian Startup Bill, and it was very painful to find out. It was very painful to find out.
They released what?
The Nigerian Startup Bill.
Startup, oh yeah, I saw it.
Yes. So it was very painful to find out that my sector, HR Tech, was not part of the sectors that was presented.
Why was it painful? Don't you have the opportunity to speak up? Can't you? When they read the bills, it's a bill. They read the bill in National Assembly. They have open gallery where you can go and make a point. Most times we disenfranchise ourselves, and this generation of Africans must do things differently. You guys need to read history. People change the world. You must know your right and stand and say, okay, this thing, you can even write an opinion article in the papers. Just so, and you should do so. So this, we need it to be broader. We can, my own brother, younger brother, is minority leader of House of Reps. So I can even introduce you to him to go and air your views. Wait, one of them, you see one of them, they will do it for you. They will do the introduction. Don't worry.
Thank you very much, sir. So I really hope that there can be an investor education for...
We know there are some people at the back who also come. Okay, will come to you.
Hi, is the microphone working? Can you hear me? Great. So my name is Asia. I'm visiting from Yale University. And I just want to say I've been very inspired. Are you able to hear me? Is this okay?
Yeah, okay, yes. Start again, please. Start. Go on.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to say I think the idea of Africa capitalism is really inspiring, and based on the classmates and the new friends that I've met this week, I just want to say the talent and the grit and the passion you're talking about is very much here in this room. But I also wanted to ask about the role of large-scale foreign investment that plays a role in Africa today and will continue to play a role in the future. Specifically, I'm very interested in the One Belt, One Road initiative that Nigeria signed with China in 2018. It's been several years since then, and we've been able to see some of the results of that sort of investment. I'm curious on your views of projects like that, where countries outside of Africa are investing, but that comes with both opportunities as well as costs. I'm curious on your role and your perspective on that topic.
No, thanks, and you're welcome to Africa and to Nigeria. No, so when I say private sector, it's all encompassing, it's all embracing. So private sector is the opposite of public sector, and so we welcome private capital. In fact, the infrastructure deficit in Africa cannot be financed by capital from within Africa at all. We need, in fact, what I say to our leaders is that there's so much global private capital looking for hospitable investment destination that we should turn our continent to hospitable investment destination so that the global private capital will come here. And that is what we need. And that, again, is Africapitalism. The investment, entrepreneurship investment as solution to economic development that is sustainable on our continent. So we do need massive foreign capital into Africa. And this comes from large businesses. Businesses bring capital. Businesses pool the resources to invest in what they believe in. I mean, if we create the right environment, a business should be able to set up a railway from Nigeria to South Africa, and it will be viable. But you need to make sure, investors want to make sure that you respect the process, the project, the laws, the policies be consistent, macroeconomic environment. So all of this, and when I say environment before, creating the right environment, there's hard and soft infrastructure. The soft one is those policies, macroeconomic policies, government policies, regulatory policies, making sure they are predictable and they are fair. That would attract massive capital on the continent. Now, you spoke about China as a country, at the investment China, the signing deal with China. So I say to my friends in the West in particular, that one, nature abhors vacuum. Two, that there are some countries that understand truly the development priorities of Africa. Africa needs roads. Africa needs electricity. And Africa needs mass like railways, etc. Mass transportation system, modern. And if China is able to support Africa in this area, I mean, there's nothing comes cheap and free. If they say we need this support, we will support you this, but in return, we need your resources, some of your natural resources. If we cannot process those natural resources and we can trade them for those things we need to develop, like electricity and roads, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So, but I cannot speak specifically about the projects that were signed, the state of those projects, because I'm not part of government. I don't know what has happened. But all I know, too, is that China as a country, if you want to invest in Africa, please choose projects that are catalytic and can impact positively. So when I see countries borrow money to remodernize airport, just even when the old tiles were better than the new tiles that you took money for, I frown at it. But if you take money to finance electricity projects, which is critical for development. In fact, critical for human standard of living of human beings. I support it. For healthcare, I support it. For mass transportation, I support it. For education, I support it. For some other areas, I don't support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
The last question, please.
Yes.
Oh, and that lady.
My name is. Hello.
Yes, I beg. You can ask.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
And that lady.
Okay, my name is Valentino Kudli. I'm into leather manufacturing. Goods.
Your name is what?
Valentino Kudli.
Valentino.
Yes, I'm into leather goods manufacturing. And for most entrepreneurs or other industries, one of their key challenges is finance. But in our own industry, we also have challenge of finance and skill, and also access to the right machines like tools.
Finance and skill.
Skills, adequate skills.
Oh, skill.
Yeah, skills, and also shortage of skills. So most times, people in our industry, we get access to money, to funding, and when you now start a business, you have shortage of skill. You don't even have the platform to execute because there's no skilled labor available. Now you put most of the money back into training, buying machines to train these people, and it takes you a longer time to even break even. And even sometimes, again, you don't even have enough people who are showing enough interest in this industry in terms of most of them are maybe old, and also because of corruption, fraud, cyber crime in the country today. Most youth are vulnerable going into cybercrime. What we do these days, we'd rather pick them young, take them from the young age, train them, and it's taking a lot of money from us. Saying that you spoke about the population of Africa, how do we tap from this young talent? How do we tap and how do we actually fund this talent, this training, and access to adequate machines to grow this industry?
I think I was waiting for you to tell you the solution, but you gave the solution about training. Get them young and train them. And if you recall what I said before in the definition of Africapitalism, so it's not one person's job. So I told you before that we set up UB Academy, which is like our own university to train and retrain. In fact, now we set up HH Academy, Ezodins Academy, because we realized that we need people. We just graduated first batch of 60 young Nigerians. We recruited young graduates. So you have to improvise. In fact, I said to investors that nowhere else you get the kind of return on investment as what you get in Africa. You know why? Because of the existence of institutional rigidities. Institutional rigidities confer certain benefits to operators, people who know how to navigate or deal with those institutional rigidities. What you describe now is one of those rigidities. Lack of manpower. So if you know how to find your way around that lack of manpower, it will enhance your competitiveness. And your competitiveness will lead you to success. That means there are 4-5 companies in the same situation, but you creatively have devised a means to deal with that problem that will confer competitive advantage on you and will help you succeed more than others in that place. So that, to me, is the solution. Other wider solution is the education curriculum, education system, training people for aptitude, training people for employment, and making sure that people can leave the vocational, go to vocational, some can go to vocational school, come out and be able to succeed. I think the whole essence of this JSS and JSS and SS was originally intended to create that kind of rule so that some can have basic education and move into other areas. But that, at least someone said we should do more advocacy on education. I believe we'll fix education. But pending that, because this story of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs are resilient. They don't accept excuses. They don't see obstacles. So you have seen an obstacle. The solution is what you've also devised. Training, get them beyond training until the system grows an ecosystem that is supportive of business, which is not the case today.
Sorry, please, maybe my question was not driven home well. So this is the question here is that you have, the training itself is a pool on your fund. The machine to trade them as well is a pool on investment. So you don't even have these resources to go into the training, but you have to train. You have to create this training. So now what my question is, how do we, having this challenge that is available to us, most people across board in the manufacturing, in leather goods manufacturing industry, have this singular training. We cannot pull out funds to go train people, buy machines to go train people. And banks cannot give you this money with the time wait to train people before you now begin to use them to reproduce to make profits. So how do we, what would be your advice to us in this dodge, and how can we contribute?
The same advice is all incorporated in what we've been discussing. If you think long term, if you are going to start with 10 people, why don't you start with 3 or 2 or 3 that are available? And then gradually, because it's a marathon race you're running, gradually, because otherwise you strain yourself so much, stress and stretch and strain yourself so much that you don't even have the energy to finish that marathon. So you just cut down a bit and give yourself longer time horizon to get there, but keep making progress and train those people, as you said, because if you're lucky, that's what, if you're lucky, you might have a development agency or foundation that support training of people in that area, so they can help train people for you. But if you don't have it, then just say your destiny is in your hands and just take it one step at a time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Lovely meeting you here. My name is Antonia. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm into the palm oil production, food chain, and I'm also into food.
Into?
Food delivery.
What kind of food delivery? Finished food or raw material?
No, Nigerian food.
I know finished, like cooked,
finished
like
food.
beans, like rice?
Yes, sir, in liters.
Do you have a website we can visit to make our orders?
I have Instagram page where
you have Instagram? No, all those food we see on Instagram, they look so delicious. No, when you order them, they are not sweet.
All of mine were made by me, so I can testify to that.
Yours are different, eh?
Sir?
Yours is different.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll test it. My people will get your answer.
Thank you, sir. So I realized that when you were answering one of the questions, you mentioned briefly about dark moments. I can say
about
dark moments.
Dark moments. Sure.
Yes, sir. So I know entrepreneurship is a big deal in Nigeria. It is very challenging, and you said luck, but I say grace has kept you. So, talking about the dark moments, I would like you to share with us about a time where you almost gave up, because I can tell that it wasn't all rosy, or it has not been all rosy. You know, where you almost gave up, you were frustrated, and you were done. You know, but what kept you going? What made you resilient? Because to have the zeal to execute, to be excellent, and to be enterprising is no child's play. So I just would like to for you to share with us from your well of knowledge.
So first is I have my memoir that is coming out soon. So all these stories, you read all these stories there. Well, let me just summarize since we're living. First is I've had my own share of failure. Failure manifests in different forms. Some people fail in business, like they start a business, the business crashes. But some people can fail by even the outcome of decisions they make. I've made so many wrong decisions that have also cost me a lot of fortunes. But I realize and I say, I will not do that again. We started a business, there was a year we started a payment business. You know, at times this is hype, okay? And at times you never know because, you know, you hear some Facebook, you know, you hear Google and Co., and someone comes to you with ideas. You don't know the one that will succeed, so it's okay. Maybe it's this one, or let me put this one money, this one. So we started a payment business before, you know, I think Freedom Pay, I can't remember, yeah, that crashed. That not crashed, it didn't crash. We decided, we set it up with 500 million naira, and we saw the way it was going, that it would be tough, and we don't even have the attention. We don't, at time, you know, at some point, again, this trade-off, you know, your time is spread. You need to, at some point, you start plotting graphs and say, okay, anyway, let's not complicate this. So you just begin to look at where do you manage your time? Is it worth it or not? So we just felt that the return on that investment would not be worth it. Let's shut it down. So I've shut down a business, you know, just say, no, guys. And at times you get sentiments from even some people, staff were involved, and that say, guys, let's excite a leprous friend guy early enough before it contaminates others. Let's spread it. So I've done that. I mean, once in UBA, even the big one, UBA, we've gone to Gambia. We wanted to operate in Gambia. We made a decision, part of our Pan-African expansion. We got license, we got an office, everything. And later the license, I think they gave 2 other Nigerian banks license to come to Gambia. It's a very small country, you know, 2-3 million. And we just looked at it and said, this market will be too small for us to operate in. Let's leave. So we shut down and left. Okay, that's, for me, it's a wrong judgment. In the first instance, that we didn't anticipate certain things before we did. So, and of course, every day you make decisions. Do you know the difference between a successful organization and one that's not successful is the quality of decision they make? So if your business is not as successful as it should be, then you've had some failures. So that at times, when people talk of failures, they just think it's, you know, that Donald Trump started this business and it crashed and he left that. No, there are failures in different forms. But what is important for entrepreneurs, what I want to tell you guys, is as entrepreneurs, first, dream dreams, be ambitious. But please know that that dream is just an insignificant, infinitesimal part of the job. The real job is in converting that dream to reality. So that process is where a lot is required. That's where hard work is required. That's where resilience. Because that dream you have is the dream you have, what you want to do. The world is a fiercely competitive place. Others are also dreaming to do the same thing. And success is not for everyone. And so for you to be successful, you must be outstanding. And that's why you must embrace excellence, as I spoke before. And that's why there's urgency of time. There's, you know, being very cost conscious, being focused on getting things done, and you would make mistakes. So let's just accept that it's part of the journey. But when you make mistakes, it's failure. How do you learn from it? How do you resolve that this will never happen again? How do you bounce back so that in the long run, you don't repeat that mistake that you made before? Because that is, to me, the one that is totally unacceptable. You can't fall the first time on something, but if you must fall again, please not be on that same thing that tripped you the first time. It should be a different thing entirely. And learn from it. Learn from it. So, growing up and to date, growing up, I used to read a lot of autobiographies, just knowing about people who have succeeded, what they did to succeed, etc., how they got there, experiences, and using it to learn. There are times to date, I sit in boardroom or meetings and issues come up, and I'll ask myself, how, if it were this person, how would this person react to this situation? And it will guide how I make decisions. So it's good to hear failure stories, but more importantly, it's good to know how to manage failure. As an entrepreneur, it will come, but please let what come not be the one that will take your business totally out. But let it be time that you can see money to stand, but it's okay, this one will not repeat itself again. I wish we had more time on the book. Look, wait for the book. The book is coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tony. You agree with me that we are leaving this place with a lot. You agree with me? Then give him another round of applause.
All right, somebody say, wow. I can't hear you. All right, it has been such an impactful session. Thank you so much, Professor Ogweche, for your time, for moderating this session. We are truly blessed in LBS, aren't we? Yes, we are. And thank you so much, Mr. Tony. We are so blessed to have you here with us. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for being practical, in creating platforms that are sustainable, platforms that have raised leaders. Thank you. I think I would repeat what you said. What is talent without a platform? Thank you, LBS, for creating a beautiful platform for us. Would you agree with me that GNAM has been great this year? All right. Now it's time to welcome somebody, a woman of grit, wit, and brain muscle. I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about. We have been given a clarion call to go out and succeed. So it's time for action. And who best to lead us into another great session other than our very own, very best GNAM Academic Director, Dr. Henrietta. She is the Director for Social Entrepreneurship Center, a woman, a strong advocate for indigenous entrepreneurship. She is none other but Dr. Henrietta!
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. I totally agree with you that it's been an amazing session. I was just saying to myself, this is so beautiful. Everything we've been talking about exemplified. I don't think we could have had a better speaker today than Mr. Tony Elumelu. And the truth is, everything he has said, he has put into practice. In class, we've spoken a lot about being impact-driven, okay? We looked at different categories of entrepreneurs, those who are profit-driven or just opportunistic, and those who are impact-driven. And we explained that the impact-driven entrepreneurs not only transform society, but also end up making much more money than those who are simply opportunistic or profit-driven. And we have a live example here in front of us. I think we should give Mr. Elumelu another round of applause. For all the impact, and we don't flatter at LBS, we're very truthful, we're very ethical, so this is not to make you happy, it's a reality. For all the impact it has made in the lives of several entrepreneurs. So I lead sessions in entrepreneurship here at the school, and quite a number of my ex-students have been beneficiaries of your foundation. And so when, I think it was Shina that was talking about the marriage between industry and entrepreneurship, I was smiling and saying it's already happening. Okay, we already have, and you can see that this room is full of mainly entrepreneurs. So we have a class of about 70 entrepreneurs, along with the GNAM program that also has entrepreneurs on the MBA program, all here being prepared to scale and transform Nigeria by solving problems. And I think that this is a huge time of opportunity for Africa, a time when we really need to think about the opportunities that have been triggered by not only Brexit and the Ukraine-Russia war, but also the opportunities that tech gives us to be on a global platform. I mean, in the past, you needed to, if you start a business, rent a place and own inventory. Today, you don't need to rent a place. You don't even need to own inventory once you know those who have the inventory and those who can transform it. You can just take pictures and get a market. So it's a time of opportunity for Africa, and I think it's time for us to actually see the opportunities before us. Nigeria, Africans have no business importing things as simple as toothpicks, liquid soap, pencils, toilet paper. They're too basic. We're smarter than that. So all these things have been triggered because the infrastructure around us makes it more expensive to produce. But all those challenges are opportunities. If you recall, we've been discussing how every problem is a potentially profitable business opportunity. We just need to come together. I was happy when he said, look, I'm a regular guy. Jack Ma says the same thing, okay? And he says, look, I was even denied admission 10 times to Harvard. The guy who invented Zoom says he was denied the visa 12 times into the US. And when he finally got in there, he had to struggle to learn English. So those who have transformed the world significantly have simply been purpose-driven, impact-driven. I think that's the fundamental ingredients we need, both to trigger us into action as well as to succeed. If you're only thinking about the money you'll make for yourself, it's going to be difficult. And I like the fact that you mentioned that it's a long-term game. A vision is accomplished over time, not overnight. We've got to be patient and passionate. I was looking at a quote yesterday that really struck me. It was Zig Ziglar saying that the difference between a small shot and a big shot are several small shots. What does that tell us? Okay? It's a process. Go through the process. You're learning, you're building capacity for when you become big. Okay? And as they say, if you jump up, you will come down. If you grow up, you will stay up. So let's allow ourselves grow up. So finally, I'd just like to say a big thank you once again to Mr. Ilumelu for role modeling what it is and what it takes to be an impact-driven entrepreneur, and for the impact you have made in so many lives. We wish you well. We thank you for coming, and we thank you all for listening.
Okay, we'll be having a photography session. I thought you were. So can everybody please stand up and come a bit forward? Come a bit forward. Right up here. Thank you.
I need to let you know. I only came for this.
I dressed very